devastation in Rio de Janeiro is beyond imagination. 2 8.5 tremors have left the people in the streets, desperately fighting for the last remaining resources. In the last hour, we received this video from Globo News Brazil.
O que está acontecendo? Meu Deus! Está...
It looks like the crust has shifted by almost 23 degrees to the southwest. The data also shows the Earth's poles have reversed their magnetic fields. These are their new positions.
So you're telling me that the North Pole is now somewhere in Wisconsin?
Actually, that's the South Pole now.
Wasn't it also decided that people have the right to fight for their lives best way they can? Just want to tell everyone they're doomed? There'd be anarchy.
Thanks for taking the time to join me on my channel, Nigel View on Things. How you doing? How you keeping? Hope everybody's safe and sound where you are. Much going on, much to pay attention to in the Earth in general and our skies. Each day that goes by seems to get crazier than the last. I'm looking at this particular moment in time at our weather in the last 10 years, how it's changed, how the skies have changed in the last 10 years. But in the last 2, the weather has become volatile. I'm looking at storms of mega proportions. Well, that maybe isn't the best word. Biblical proportions battering our Earth. It just reminds me of a couple of films, 2012. Day After Tomorrow, or Geostorm. If it's not underwater, it's on fire. There's an earthquake or a volcano going off. The scientists will try and tell us that this is down to global climate change, and guess what, boys and girls? It's because you drive a car, your wife's burnt the food, the cows in the field farting, and that is their narrative. You've got to ask yourself, it just doesn't make any sense, because what's ever happening in our world at this particular moment in time seems to be accelerating at a very, very fast rate of knots. We're looking at sinkholes, rivers running dry, lakes just disappearing overnight. We're looking at mass animal die-offs on our land, in our seas. The seas are receding beyond points on our coastlines around the world that have never been recorded before. Yeah. It just doesn't really make any sense. We're looking at birds falling out of the sky, and of course that's got nothing to do with chemtrails in whatsoever, because they don't exist. That's what we're told. Many people around the world taking photos, taking pictures, people that don't even know each other, showing some strange technology and objects that are in our skies. But of course all those cameras are faulty, they're all lens flares, and we're all nuts. Hello to all those nutty people. Yeah, you know what I'm saying, but there is things there that shouldn't be on camera. And talking about one of those, we're looking at a picture from the 2nd of September 2018. It's 11:30 at night. It's a blood red moon. There's nothing wrong in a blood red moon. We get 2 a year, and if you Google this or Wikipedia it, it will tell you that it has to be a full moon. All the circumstances come together and that's what happens. But when we're looking at 3/4 moons, half moons, quarter moons, crescent moons, it shouldn't be blood red. And no, this is not our atmosphere. It's been happening for quite some time now. Looking at this picture, the camera doesn't do it any justice. It was extremely red. If you look in our skies at night, our sky is a very dark red. When the sun sets and when the sun rises, it's extremely, well, it's changed over the last 6 months. Every 6 days, approximately, we're looking at a blood red sunrise, and that's normal. The reason this is happening because we got a great big red planet coming towards us, and it's getting bigger and more defined as time goes by. It's also tilting our solar system, and we know this because we're being told by the scientists. They would never ever lie to us now, would they? Our governments. 9/11. Yeah, they would never lie to us. They could never tell us the truth because, hey, at this point in the video, I got up, walked away from my laptop. I'm now sitting back at my laptop 9 days later. I've been extremely busy. But looking around, so is the world. A few stories that have cropped up that I need to mention. SDO abnormality. NASA have just made a press release saying what we're looking at happens to be a twin transit of our moon. Now that happened on the 9th of September. Something even stranger on the 6th of September happened over in New Mexico. An observatory that just deals with the sun was shut down by the FBI. On the 7th of September, not knowing either of these stories, I was at work playing with the camera. I just happened to zoom into our sun and sun simulator, and this is what I found. 7th of September 2018, time on the camera is 6:58. I'm playing with the cameras, pointing it towards the sun and zooming in, and I found something quite interesting. Let's have a look. And just there, I'm going to stop it very, very quickly because we get to see a very big light bulb. It seems to be quite red around the outside there. Nice and bright, big LED torch. And then this pops out. Just there, we have a object, or an object, should I say. We're also looking at 2 lens flares here. 1, 2. This is a lens flare of... At any rate, don't forget what a lens flare is. It's a projected image of a light source. So that's what we get to see on our screen. We've got an object that happens to be green here. Lens flares that happens to be green here. And red here. And you know what I'm saying. At the end of the day, it's something that shouldn't be on camera. Now, the difference between this object and these lens flares happens to be... Let me just play it and you can see that it's very, very windy and that green object doesn't actually move. For me, I find that quite interesting. Now, is that the reason why they shut that observatory down in New Mexico? Connecting all the dots, and don't forget, when I captured this, I didn't even know those 2 stories about the SDO or the observatory in New Mexico being shut down by the FBI. I'm just saying, what's the chances? And of course the camera's faulty and there couldn't possibly be anything in our sky. Yep. And while we're talking about the sun, I can't actually leave this subject without talking about a channel that I've come across, DIGIDUIT. And he does some amazing work. He deals with shadows. I haven't seen many people actually touching upon this subject, but the evidence that he's come across and the information that he puts out. If you've got 2 light sources, you would get 2 shadows. Guess what? He actually proves it. Go over, share the love, subscribe, say hello. I'll leave links to his channel in the description box down below so it's nice and simple for everybody to find. I think you might be pleasantly surprised. Another story that made me sit up and pay attention was the 3 planes that were quarantined because of an Ebola outbreak. I find that quite strange. What are the chances? It's just like winning the lottery with 6 numbers. There's a channel actually dealing with this subject and cholera, flu and kangaroo flu. Joanne Steen. I'll leave the links to her channel in the description box down below so it's nice and simple for everybody to find. She's made a video called This Is How It Starts. Quite interesting. Another story that has overshadowed absolutely everything that's going on would be Florence, not the person, not the place, but the Category 4 hurricane that's beating the east coast of the United States. Many people displaced, 5 million people affected, and 1.7 million people have been evacuated. It reminds me of a film, Perfect Storm. Just saying, really. Now, Obama has been talking about this just before he left his presidency. Let me show you something.
But we do need to stay focused on some big challenges, like climate change.
Hey, listen, y'all, if you haven't noticed, California is bone dry. It looked like a trailer for the new Mad Max movie up in there.
The science is clear. 9 out of the 10 hottest years ever came in the last decade.
Now, I'm not a scientist, but I do know how to count to 10.
Rising seas, more violent storms.
You got mosquitoes, sweaty people on the train stinking it up. It's just nasty.
Look at what's happening right now. Every serious scientist says we need to act. The Pentagon says it's a national security risk. The Pentagon says it's a national security risk.
Y'all remember when I had that big old hole in the bottom of the Gulf of Mexico, and then I plugged it? Remember that? Which Obama's Katrina was that one? Was that 19 or was it 20? Because I can't remember.
And as you can see, he was talking about global climate change being a national security risk. Well, you've got to ask yourself. Right, back on with the video. Let me show you something from the weathercamnetwork.au. Leave the links to that in the description box down below. Date is the 2nd of September 2018. Time is 4:30. The camera we're using is from Warham. Let me push the start button. Let me show you something. The SDO abnormality could have well been the moon transiting across the camera twice. The security issue at the observatory in New Mexico sunspot could have well been just a security issue. That could have well been the only problem that they had. But I've also shown you a clip from our sun. Next to it happens to be a green object. What is it? Is it a planet? Well, it's something that shouldn't be on camera. That's what you've got to understand. Now, I'm going to stop the clip just about here. And what we're going to do is have another look at this clip and go through it frame by frame, because this clip actually produces more questions than answers. Did you notice what you may have missed? Let's have a look. Right, let's have another look at this clip. Let me go through it frame by frame and show you what you may have missed. Start time is 4:30, and as we click through, you can see the sky is starting to flash red and green. And at 5:05, we start to get to see a green sunrise. Well, our sun is not green, it's yellow, not white like a big LED torch. We've also seen a clip from a security camera that I took personally, and there is a green object next to our sun. For me, this makes perfect sense that we're getting a green sunrise. We can also see that the sky is very, very red to the left, green to the right. And then all of a sudden the sky starts to brighten up and dims off, and then dims off again and starts to brighten. As we get towards 6 o'clock, our sky seems to change, and we can see this beam of light coming off. We've seen this many times before on the camera, and we get this effect because there's a lens system in front of our sun simulator. A big kaleidoscope of light. Many other people have shown this. As we progress through the clip, then suddenly this light suddenly disappears. Why would that be? But when it comes back, it shows us something that shouldn't be there. We get an outline of a sky disk, a sky lens, and many people have shown these. Their technology hiding in the sky to hide the planets. As the sun and sun simulator come through the sky, it seems to highlight it just that little bit more around the outside. Let me push the start button and play the clip for you. You get this great big red curtain of light. Well, you've got to ask yourself. And then all of a sudden we get, well, some people might argue what we're looking at is a spider's web. Suddenly spiders have started making, yep, okay, let's click it forward and see if we can get a better picture. and it happens to be something with a spike through the middle. Something that we shouldn't see on camera. You make your own minds up. There's technology in our skies. They're trying to hide things that we shouldn't be able to see. That's all I've got for you now. Much love, much peace, and I'll catch you next time. Take care.